Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now, whenever you think about Vivo, you always can imagine or expect them to produce phones that take great portraits, especially pictures of people, have very beautiful faces regardless of how you really look. So again, Vivo has launched a brand new device, which is the vivo V29, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at what's new and what kind of improvements has been made compared to the previous gen. So let's take a look at the device right away. Now, this is what I have here. The colorway is called Starry Purple, and if you do take a closer look at it, you might notice that there's a bit of glitter. It's very subtle, you don't really see it like on first glance, but under certain lighting conditions, you might be able to see a bit of those starry stars at the back. Now again, in terms of the colors, you can already see that we do have sort of like a gradient thing going on. It starts off with a very light shade of purple at the top. It's almost white, I would say, and it goes on to a darker shade at the bottom. So this is what you can get with the Vivo V29. Now obviously, they still retain the very slim form factor. As you can see, the camera bump barely even sticks out, and I think this is one of the slimmest or thinnest phone with a camera bump that is so thin. But yeah, that's what you can expect with Vivo phones these days. Alright, so let's talk a bit about the main star of the show, which is actually the cameras at the back. Now if you just compare it to the previous gen, you might notice that the numbers sound very similar. We have a 50 megapixel main sensor that also comes with OIS. We also have an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel, which has been changed from a depth to a macro lens. But the most interesting thing is actually those tiny ring at the bottom, because the ring here is what Vivo is calling the Aura Light 2.0. And you are actually able to change the temperature of it. That means you can have it in a cool shade or you can have it in a warm shade. So there's actually a bar at the top of your camera interface whenever you enter portrait mode, so you can actually adjust the level of warmth or coolness that you want for this Aura Light 2.0. Now, how does this really help out in taking portraits? Well, first of all, I did take a couple of shots of people. I took some of myself as well as my friends. And you will notice here that the first thing I noticed is, of course, the consistency in getting great portraits. So you will notice that the object separation, the people separation between the background is actually very good. You also have very nice skin tones here, which I think again is really strong coming from Vivo, because this is something that they have excelled in the past. With that Aura Light, this is where you can actually manage the kind of picture that you really want to get. So if you're putting a more warmer kind of tone with the Aura Light here, you will be able to get something that looks a bit more yellowish. And of course, if you want a cooler look, you can always just tune it to all the way to the right and get a cooler tones. Now, another thing I did notice, which isn't really something that was advertised heavily, and that is that you do have the natural color, setting at the top as well. And this is actually something that you can find on Vivo's flagship devices, the Zeiss natural color. Well, obviously it doesn't come with the Zeiss branding here, but you do have that natural color, and I think it's also a very good feature here because it allows you to choose the kind of tones for your picture. Say you want something that doesn't look too saturated, or some people like pictures that pop. Everyone has their own type of taste in terms of photos. So the natural color feature actually allows you to control all that, and I think it's great to give the choice to the end consumer. Alright, so let's move on and talk about what else is new. Well, another thing that I really appreciate that's new here is actually the display at the front. You might just think of this as another curved display, but what you're not seeing here is actually, this is a higher resolution display compared to the previous gen, which was like 1080p, which is actually very standard. But right now you get a 1.5K display. That means resolution is even higher. The PPI, the pixel per inch, is actually 450 plus. That means it's a very high resolution display. And of course, you still get that 120 Hz, fluid display, so things are going to be smooth. Moving on, what else is also new here is in terms of the charging speeds. Now, the battery size does remain the same at 4600 mAh, but the charging speeds has been upgraded to 80 watt flash charge, and this basically allows you to charge the phone from 0 to 50% in under 18 minutes. I think it's 17 minutes to be precise. So again, very fast charging from the Vivo V29. Alright, so another thing that has changed here, now like I said, a lot of stuff has actually changed, is in terms of the processor on board. Now there's two ways to look at it. You might think of this as a processor that's coming from a 6nm to a 4nm, but others might really appreciate the change from a MediaTek processor to a Snapdragon processor. Now the one that's running in here is actually a 778G. It's not like the latest processor or anything like that, but it does offer you a very stable, efficient and effective performance from this device. So I think that's also a good thing in some way, because a lot of people out there do like Snapdragon processors, and this time it's here on the Vivo V29. Now with that said, that pretty much wraps up our quick look at the Vivo V29. Again, I think if you're looking for something, a phone that takes great pictures of people, portraits, the Vivo is something that you might want to check out. Anyway, I'll leave a link down below if you want to find out more information about that. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Do take care, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.